There's a phrase dealerships use when they're trying to close a sale: world-class support. It sounds good. It sounds reassuring. It sounds like the kind of thing that'll keep you running when everything goes wrong. For Aaron Veldman, it sounded good enough to bet his entire operation on. He shouldn't have. Aaron had been farming 2,200 acres of corn and soybeans in southwest Minnesota since 2014. He took over the operation from his uncle, who'd retired at 68 and sold Aaron the ground at a fair price with owner financing. Aaron was 31 years old when he signed that deal, young by farm standards. But he wasn't reckless. He ran a conservative operation, modest debt, careful equipment purchases. He didn't chase the newest iron every year. He bought used when it made sense and ran machines until they didn't make sense anymore. His fleet was a mix: 2 Case IH Magnum tractors, a New Holland CR combine, a versatile sprayer. Nothing matched, nothing was flashy, but it worked. Until 2020, when it started not working. The Case IH tractors were both pushing 4,000 hours and nickel and diming him on repairs. The New Holland combine was 13 years old and starting to show its age. The sprayer was fine, but parts were getting harder to find. Aaron needed to make a decision: keep patching things together or consolidate. In March 2021, he drove to a Massey Ferguson dealership in Worthington, Minnesota. The dealership was new, clean, modern. The sales manager, a guy named Todd Bergstrom, met Aaron in the lot. "What brings you in?" Todd asked. "Looking to consolidate my fleet," Aaron said. "I'm running a mix right now. Want to simplify." Todd smiled. "You came to the right place." He walked Aaron through the lot, showed him the Massey Ferguson 7700 series tractors, the ideal 9T and 10T combines, the sprayers. "We can build you a full package," Todd said. "Everything you need, one brand, one parts system, one service relationship." Aaron liked the sound of that. "What kind of support are we talking about?" Aaron asked. Todd didn't hesitate. "World class. We've got 4 full-time techs, a parts warehouse that's stocked deep, and we're tied into AGCO's national network. If we don't have a part, we can get it overnighted from Kansas City or pulled from another dealer within 100 miles. "What about downtime?" Aaron asked. "We prioritize our fleet customers," Todd said. "You buy from us, you get bumped to the front of the line. Period." Aaron thought about the last time he'd called his Case IH dealer for service. They'd made him wait 6 days for a routine hydraulic repair. "What's the timeline if I want to do this?" Aaron asked. Todd pulled out his tablet. "We can have you fully transitioned by late summer. You'd be running Massey Ferguson iron for fall harvest." Aaron stood there in the Minnesota sun, looking at a bright red 8S 265 tractor, and felt the pull, not just of the equipment, but of the promise. One brand, one dealer, world-class support. It sounded like the answer to every equipment headache he'd had for the last 5 years. Aaron didn't decide that day. He went home. He ran the numbers with his accountant. He talked to his wife, Jenna. "It's a lot of debt," Jenna said. "It is," Aaron said. "But I'm spending so much time chasing parts and managing 3 different service relationships. This simplifies everything." Jenna looked at the proposal Todd had put together. "And you trust this dealership?" "They've been solid every time I've talked to them," Aaron said, "and they're guaranteeing parts availability and priority service." Jenna nodded. "Okay, if you think it's the right move." Aaron called Todd the next day and told him to start the paperwork. The transition happened over 4 months. Aaron traded in his Case IH tractors, his New Holland combine, and his versatile sprayer. In return, he got 2 Massey Ferguson 7726 tractors, 1 Massey Ferguson 8S.265 tractor, 2 Massey Ferguson ID Deal 10T combines, 1 Massey Ferguson Rogator sprayer. Total package, $2.1 million financed over 7 years. By late August 2021, Aaron's entire fleet was red. He posted a photo on Instagram. Caption: "New chapter, all in on Massey Ferguson." The comments were positive. A few friends congratulated him. One guy asked how he liked the Ideal combines. Aaron replied, "Haven't run them yet, but I'll let you know." Harvest 2021 was flawless. The Ideal 10T combines were fast, aggressive. The twin-rotor design handled high-moisture corn better than Aaron's old New Holland ever had. He cut 198 bushels per acre on corn. The machines didn't miss a beat. Aaron called Todd halfway through October. "These combines are incredible," Aaron said. Todd laughed. Told you. Aaron finished harvest in early November. Zero downtime, zero service calls. He felt vindicated. He'd consolidated his fleet, simplified his operation, and gotten machines that performed exactly as promised. Everything Todd had said was true, or so it seemed. Spring 2022 came smooth. The Massey Ferguson tractors handled planting without issue. The 8S265 pulled like a freight train. The 7726s were nimble and efficient. Aaron didn't need to call the dealership once during planting season. That should have felt like a win. But in the back of his mind, Aaron knew he hadn't really tested the world-class support yet. Because support doesn't matter when nothing breaks. Harvest 2022 started in late September. Aaron fired up both Ideal 10T combines on a Wednesday morning. The plan was to run them side by side through a 180-acre cornfield. The first combine, the one Aaron was running, cut beautifully. The second combine, operated by his hired hand, a guy named Marcus, ran for 40 minutes and then started making a grinding noise from the rotor drive. Marcus shut it down immediately and called Aaron on the radio. "Something's wrong with the rotor," Marcus said. Aaron climbed out of his cab and walked over. He could hear the grinding even with the engine off. He called Todd. "I've got a rotor issue on one of the 10Ts, Aaron said. "Can you get a tech out here?" "Absolutely," Todd said. "I'll have someone there this afternoon." The tech, a guy named Jay, showed up 3 hours later. He ran diagnostics, pulled the side panels, listened to the machine. Finally, he shut off his tablet and looked at Aaron. "Your rotor drive gearbox is shot," Jay said. Aaron felt his stomach drop. "How bad?" "Complete failure. The gears are stripped. You need a full gearbox replacement." "How long does that take?" Jay hesitated. "Depends on parts availability. Let me call it in." He walked back to his truck and made a call. Aaron stood there watching his second combine sit dead in the field and told himself it would be fine. Todd had promised world-class support. This was the test. Jay came back 20 minutes later. His expression had changed. "So, we've got a problem," Jay said. "What kind of problem?" "The rotor drive gearbox for the Ideal 10T is a specialized part. It's manufactured in Germany. We don't stock them." Aaron blinked. "You don't stock them?" "No dealership does," Jay said. "They're special order only." "Okay," Aaron said slowly. "So order one." "I did," Jay said, "but the lead time is 8 to 12 weeks. Aaron stared at him. 12 weeks? It's October. I'm in the middle of harvest." "I know," Jay said. "I'm sorry. That's just how long it takes to get the part from Germany." Aaron felt something cold settle in his chest. "Can you get it overnighted? I'll pay for air freight." Jay shook his head. "ATCO Corporate won't authorize air freight for individual parts orders. It's cost prohibitive." "I don't care what it costs." Aaron said, "I need that combine running." "I hear you," Jay said, "but it's not my call. It's ATCO's policy." Aaron pulled out his phone and called Todd. Todd picked up on the second ring. "Todd, I've got a major problem." Aaron explained the situation. The gearbox failure, the 12-week lead time. Todd was quiet for a moment. "Let me make some calls," Todd said. "I'll see if we can pull a gearbox from another dealer." "How long will that take? Give me a few hours." Aaron hung up and looked at the dead combine sitting in his field. He still had one machine running. He could finish harvest with it, but it would take 3 times as long, and every day he waited, he risked weather. Todd called back at 6 p.m. "I've got bad news," Todd said. Aaron closed his eyes. "Tell me." "There are only 2 rotor drive gearboxes in North American inventory right now. Both of them are allocated to custom harvesters who have active contracts. ATCO won't release them." "What does that mean?" "It means you're waiting on Germany," Todd said. Aaron felt his hands tighten around the phone. "Todd, you told me you had world-class support. You told me parts availability was guaranteed." "For standard parts, yes," Todd said. "But this is a catastrophic failure on a specialized component. It's not something we can predict or stock." "So what am I supposed to do?" Todd hesitated. "Finish with your other combine, or rent a machine to get through harvest." "From who?" Aaron asked. "Who rents Ideal combines in southwest Minnesota?" Todd didn't have an answer. Aaron hung up and stood in his shop, staring at the wall. Jenna came out and found him there. "What's wrong?" she asked. "One of the combines is down. Rotor gearbox failure. They're saying 12 weeks for the part." Jenna's face went pale. 12 weeks? Aaron, we can't wait 12 weeks. I know. What are we going to do? Aaron looked at his wife and said the words he'd been trying not to think. I don't know. Aaron spent the next 2 days trying to find a solution. He called every equipment rental company within 200 miles. Nobody had an ideal combine available. He called 3 other Massey Ferguson dealers. None of them had a spare gearbox. He called AGCO North America directly and got transferred 4 times before reaching someone who could help. Mr. Veldman, I understand your frustration, the AGCO rep said, but our parts network operates on a first-come, first-served basis for specialty components. The gearboxes in inventory are allocated. We can't pull them. Can you expedite the Germany shipment? Not without corporate authorization. How do I get corporate authorization? You'd need to file a critical failure claim and have it approved by regional management. How long does that take? 3 to 5 business days for review. Aaron hung up. He was running out of time. By the end of the first week of October, Aaron had cut 340 acres with his one working combine. He still had 1,400 acres to go. The forecast showed rain coming in 10 days. Aaron called a neighboring farmer, a guy named Rick who ran John Deere equipment, and asked if he could rent a combine. Rick was sympathetic, but his machines were already booked. I can try to squeeze you in after I finish my own acres, Rick said, but that won't be until late October. I can't wait that long, Aaron said. Rick paused. Aaron, can I ask you something? Yeah. Why'd you go all in on Massey Ferguson? Aaron felt his jaw tighten because the dealership told me they had world-class support. Rick was quiet for a moment. Then he said, world-class support doesn't mean anything if they can't get you parts. Aaron pushed through the next 2 weeks with his one working combine. He ran 18-hour days, started at sunrise, stopped when the dew got too heavy or the grain moisture hit 18%. Jenna brought him meals in the field. Their 6-year-old daughter, Emma, rode with him in the cab some evenings, falling asleep to the sound of the rotor and the grain hitting the tank. By October 18th, Aaron had 900 acres left, and then the rain came. Not a drizzle. A 2-day system that dropped 3 inches and turned the fields into mud. Aaron sat in his kitchen, watching the rain sheet across the windows, and felt everything unraveling. The rain stopped on October 20th, but the fields were too wet to combine for another 4 days. By the time Aaron could get back in, it was October 24th. He cut for 3 more days, and then the second rain system hit. This one was worse. 5 days of steady rain. Temperatures dropped. The corn started to deteriorate in the field. By November 2nd, Aaron had 340 acres of soybeans that were too damaged to harvest. He walked those fields with Todd, the Massey Ferguson sales manager, on a cold Saturday morning. The beans were moldy, shattered, unsalvageable. I'm sorry, Aaron, Todd said. Aaron didn't say anything. He just stood there looking at $48,000 worth of crop he couldn't recover. Where's the gearbox? Aaron asked finally. Still in Germany, Todd said. Estimated ship date is mid-November. Aaron turned and looked at him. You told me you had world-class support. Todd met his eyes. We do, for the parts we can control. But this is a supply chain issue, Aaron. It's out of our hands. Is it? Aaron said. Because I called 3 John Deere dealers last week. Every single one of them said they stock major combine components on site. Rotors, gearboxes, drive systems. They don't wait on Germany. Todd didn't respond. You know what I think? Aaron said. I think world-class support is just a sales pitch. I think Massey Ferguson's parts network is a fraction of Deere's or Case's, and I think you knew that when you sold me these machines. That's not fair, Todd said. Isn't it? Aaron said, because I lost 340 acres waiting on a part you swore you could get me. Todd opened his mouth to respond. Aaron turned and walked away. The gearbox arrived on November 18th. Jay installed it over 2 days. The combine was running again by November 20th. By then, harvest was over. Aaron had lost 340 acres of soybeans to weather damage. At an average yield of 52 bushels per acre and $14 per bushel, that was $244,160 in gross revenue. After input costs, Aaron's net loss was approximately $91,000. For a gearbox that cost $12,400, winter 23 was quiet. Aaron didn't call the Massey Ferguson dealership. He didn't attend their customer appreciation dinner. He didn't trade anything in or ask about new equipment. He just sat in his office looking at his year-end financials and tried to figure out how to absorb a $91,000 loss. Jenna came in one evening and found him there. "You okay?" she asked. Aaron looked up. "I keep thinking about what Rick said." "What'd he say?" "That world-class support doesn't mean anything if they can't get you parts." Jenna sat down across from him. "Do you regret switching to Massey Ferguson?" Aaron thought about it. "The equipment's good. The combines run great. The tractors are solid. But parts availability matters more than I thought," Aaron said. "Deere's got dealers every 30 miles. Case has regional distribution hubs. Massey Ferguson's got Todd and a warehouse in Kansas City." Jenna was quiet. Then she said, "What are you going to do?" Aaron didn't answer. Because he didn't know. Spring 2023 came hard. Fertilizer prices spiked. Seed costs climbed. Diesel hit $5.80 a gallon. Aaron's margins were already tight from the harvest loss. And when he tried to trade in one of his 7726 tractors to reduce debt, the trade-in value came back $18,000 lower than he expected. He called Todd. "Why's the trade value so low?" Aaron asked. "Used Massey Ferguson equipment doesn't move as fast in this region," Todd said. "Deere and Case dominate the market, so residual values are softer." Aaron felt something twist in his chest. "You didn't mention that when I bought them." Todd hesitated. "Aaron, you got a great deal on the initial purchase. But yeah, long-term, Massey Ferguson holds value differently depending on the area." Aaron hung up. He'd saved $120,000 on the upfront cost by going Massey Ferguson instead of Deere, but he'd lost $91,000 in crop damage from the parts delay. And now he was losing another $18,000 on trade-in value. The math was starting to turn against him. By summer 2023, Aaron had adjusted his thinking. He wasn't going to trade out of Massey Ferguson. The debt was too high. The residual values were too low. He was stuck. But he could adapt. He started stockpiling critical spare parts, rotor belts, hydraulic hoses, sensors, anything that might fail during harvest. He joined an online forum for ideal combine owners and started networking with farmers in other states who could source parts faster. He built a relationship with an independent parts supplier in Iowa who specialized in AGCO components. It wasn't world-class support, but it was something. In August 2023, Aaron ran into a John Deere farmer named Carl at the feed mill. Carl had been watching Aaron's Massey Ferguson transition from a distance. "How's the red iron treating you?" Carl asked. Aaron kept his expression neutral. "Good. Machines run well. I heard you had some downtime last year." Aaron felt his jaw tighten. "Who told you that?" Carl shrugged. "Small town. Word gets around." Aaron didn't say anything. "You ever think about switching back?" Carl asked. "To what?" "Deere. Case, something with a real parts network." Aaron met his eyes. "I'm $2.1 million into Massey Ferguson equipment, Carl. I'm not switching back." Carl nodded slowly. "Fair enough. Just saying, parts availability matters." He walked away. Aaron stood there and realized what had just happened. Carl wasn't asking out of curiosity. He was checking to see if Aaron had learned his lesson. And the answer was yes, Aaron had learned. Harvest 2023 started in late September. Both Ideal 10T combines fired up without issue. Aaron ran them hard, kept a close eye on the rotor systems, checked fluid levels daily. He cut 204 bushels per acre on corn. The machines performed flawlessly. No breakdowns, no failures. By mid-November, Aaron was done. He sat in his combine on the last day of harvest, watching the sun set over his last field, and felt something close to relief. He'd made it through. No disasters, no parts delays, but Aaron knew the truth. He hadn't avoided disaster because Massey Ferguson had improved their parts network. He'd avoided disaster because nothing had broken. And that wasn't a solution. That was luck. Winter 2024 brought a decision. Aaron couldn't keep running on luck. He called an equipment consultant, a guy who specialized in fleet management for mid-sized operations, and laid out his situation. "I'm all in on Massey Ferguson," Aaron said. "The equipment's good, but I can't trust the parts network. What do I do?" The consultant was blunt. "You've got three options. 1. Stay Massey Ferguson and build your own parts safety net. Stockpile critical components. Develop relationships with multiple suppliers. Accept that you're operating with more risk than a Deere or Case farmer. 2. Start transitioning back to a mainstream brand. It'll take 5 to 7 years to do it without destroying your equity. 3. Hybrid fleet. Keep the Massey Ferguson iron that's working, but don't expand it. When you need to replace something, go Deere or Case. Aaron thought about it. Which one would you do? The consultant didn't hesitate. Option 3. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket's got a parts lead time measured in months. Spring 2024. Aaron bought a used John Deere 8370R tractor to replace one of his aging 7726s. It was the first piece of green iron he'd owned in 3 years. He didn't post about it on social media. He didn't make a big announcement. He just quietly started diversifying. Because Aaron had learned something the hard way. Equipment performance matters, but parts availability matters more. You can have the best combine in the world, but if you can't get it running when it breaks, it's just an expensive lawn ornament. Summer 2024. Aaron Veldminst still farms 2,200 acres in southwest Minnesota. He still runs 2 Massey Ferguson Ideal 10T combines. They're about to start their 4th harvest season. They run beautifully, but Aaron doesn't trust them the way he used to. He's got $23,000 worth of spare parts stockpiled in his shop. Gearboxes, drive belts, hydraulic pumps, sensors. He's got relationships with 3 different parts suppliers across 4 states. He's got a backup plan for every critical system on both machines, and he's slowly transitioning back to a mixed fleet because world-class support turned out to be a sales pitch. What Aaron needed, what every farmer needs, is parts velocity, the ability to get a critical component in hours, not weeks. And Massey Ferguson, for all their engineering excellence, couldn't deliver that. Not in southwest Minnesota. Not when it mattered most. Aaron doesn't regret buying Massey Ferguson equipment. The machines proved themselves. But he regrets believing that dealer support was about friendly service and priority appointments. Real support is about infrastructure. It's about parts warehouses within a 2-hour drive. It's about regional distribution networks that can get you a rotor gearbox by tomorrow morning. It's about a supply chain that doesn't depend on a container ship from Germany. Massey Ferguson had great equipment, but they didn't have the infrastructure to support it when things went catastrophically wrong. And in agriculture, catastrophic failure isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. Aaron learned that lesson at a cost of $91,000 and 340 acres of soybeans. He won't make that mistake again. The ideal combines still run, but Aaron's not betting his entire operation on them anymore. Because world-class support doesn't mean anything if you can't get the parts to make it real.